I wanted to talk about how to take your Kinsey Agricultural Services soil report plus your cool ball jar test and read it and figure out what you want to do. So this is what you're going to get back from them. This is information you apply. Pardon my cat. She's enjoying the afternoon. And this is whatever you put. They're going to make their suggestion based on what you ask for. So here I asked for mixed vegetables. I thought about doing the same sample, like the same plot ID, but also for corn. Decided against it at the end. You can kind of do whatever you like. They're very awesome to work with. All right, what you get out of it is a kitty. So this is what they're going to send you back, and their recommendations here. So there's a couple components, pH and humus percentage. These are pretty important for you. Total cation exchange. Total exchange capacity. And this is a little on the low side, but we'll make it better in time. These are related, right? So like the more humic acid you have, like the more humus you have, the more the higher exchange capacity you're gonna have, etc. But all of these suggestions are based off of that, right? So this is kind of unimportant. Other than, this is what your readings are at. The only thing you really need to worry about is what's in yellow. So this is what they recommend. Protein meal, 400 pounds per acre. Sulfur, 9092, 30 pounds per acre. DAP, 250. And so you're like, cool, that's great, 400 pounds per acre. But what does that mean for my garden bed? Because I'm not doing a broad acre thing. I'm just gonna amend this in the bed. And so I made a soil calculator that lets you start from this, and kind of tells you what you want to do. So let's go ahead and here. So similar to this one, if it's yellow, you fill it in. That's important. So what we have here is the amendment in pounds per acre. Comes from here, protein meal, pounds per acre, right? So you're going to write those in here. And you go to this one and you write down your beds, like how long they are, how wide they are, and how deep they are. Note it's feet, inches. And then number of beds, like how many you have in that plot. And it's going to calculate everything out. And then over here, you're going to enter in the information from this, right? So like, get yourself a ruler. You measure from the bottom, it says here, fill in these values measuring from the bottom of the jar. So, put it on a table, put a ruler down, and you're going to measure up to your clay line. And you're going to measure from the bottom up to your silt line, and you're going to measure from the bottom up to your clay line. Right? So always bottom up. And so that way your clay will be the biggest because it sits on top. Right? So this is what I did for 2020. You can see. Here's everything. We'll talk about this in a second. So I just took in those values, dropped them in here, and then it kind of calculates how much I need. And this is the total, the total amount. So it's not like, this isn't per bed, this is total. Real quick, on these two rows, the measurements come in dry ounces, but you purchase them in grams. So I went ahead and did a conversion here, just to make it easy on me really. Okay, so also based off of this, I calculate if you want to add peat moss or coco coir. I take basically the cubic footage of your beds and say if you want to increase that by 1%, here's what you would add. And this is per bed, right? So I think I should probably mention that, huh? Yeah, per bed. I do mention it. So to get plus 1% organic matter per bed is 4.4 cubic yards, or cubic feet, excuse me. Which is like, 2 peat mosses. You want to be careful here because these, your like coconut coir and peat moss affect the pH of your soil, which affects this, right? So I think this is, so that you can kind of tool with it. Ideally, you will send them a sample of your organic material and say, I want to add this in order to increase humic acid. And you just write it on the side. Like there's not like a spot for that in the form. You just write it in. And then they're cool with it, but they'll take it as a like a compost sample and send it in. I didn't do that because I ran out of time. I didn't have the stuff acquired. That's the one thing. It's a little bit of a catch-22. Like you need the peat moss acquired in order to put it on the list, etc. So this is like we're only going to do a little bit. I'm probably going to do like less than this. I'm probably going to do like 3, right? 3 cubic feet, because I don't want to throw this off in a way that it would, I would not get any benefit from it. But keep in mind, like, the first year is the worst year for vegetable beds. They're going to get better every other year, like, from here on out. First year is like so-so. The second year is really good. Year 3, you're like, it's locked in and it's crazy. And you're growing stuff so well that you didn't think it would be possible. So that's what we're shooting for. Remember, we're in it for the long run. So speaking of long run, when you fill this in, so like this is my, my numbers. And I'll show you how to do this, but this is going to show you where your stuff lines up. Let's do that now, actually. This is from the USDA, I think, or whatever. So I'll show you like how you generate this list. The real trick is these are all percentages. The total of these 3 will add up to 100, right? That's how percentages work. I don't mean to be pedantic, even though it sounds like it. We'll pick red because that's what I use in the other one. Let me go for a bigger brush width so you can see it. So I think the kind of the best way to understand this is you're going to follow the direction of the numbers. Okay, so your clay goes straight across. You see how these numbers are straight across, right? The silt, you got to kind of tip your head, and they're going to go down and to the left, right, for silt. So this is the line you follow. Same thing with sand. They go up and to the left, right? See how these numbers go up and to the left? Like the actual shape of the number is different. So you're going to follow the numbers, and that's how you'll always draw the line across the right axis. Because what you're going to end up with, and we'll just take I have some example numbers here. Let's see. So we'll reproduce the graph that I showed you. So my percentage of sand is 44%. So I'm going to go here. This is about 44. And I'm going to follow the up and left line because that's the direction that the numbers are going. So I'm going to be like right here, give or take. And then my silt is 18, a measly 18. So that's going to be here, and I'm going to follow these down and to the left. And from here, you can actually see where the point of intersection is. If your third number, like let's say I somehow only had 20% sand, this would be incorrect. Like you would know something's wrong because you're not supposed to get a range like this outside of like, we're just kind of doing it by eye. So you could end up with something like this, that just adjust for that. Anyway, so I know exactly where my sand's going to be. It's going to be like, or my clay is going to be like 40-ish. So 37 it says, which is like, it's 35. I'll go like right here. So it's probably slightly off on one of those. But you see I'm right here in clay loam. Excuse me. I may actually be, if my clay amount increases at all, like I'll slip into clay, right? Or if my sand increases at all, I'll slip into sandy clay. I'm probably somewhere in here, right? There's not much difference. I'm really kind of on the line here. So let's say you want to change this. Let's say we wanted to go to loam. So here's our target. Well, let's say we'll pick blue, and blue will be our next thing. So just showing here. I know this because I'm trying to think of a good way to share this. Silt almost always becomes your limiter. If you have a lot of silt, then you probably are in a riverbed or near it or whatever, and you're gonna have great soil. Silt tends to indicate world-class garden growing capability, right? So here pretty low, this is a problem, right? Because the way it works is if I increase one of these, like let's say I increase sand. So I go from 40, I'm going to go up to 60% sand, let's say. So I increase it by, what is that, 15%? So that means that if I do nothing else, the percentage of my clay and the percentage of my silt go down half of that. So let's say 7.5%, right? So let's see. My clay will be like, here's 10, here's 15. It's probably going to be like here. So now my clay is going to go down to here. And my silt is going to go down to like probably here. Right? Oh, I screwed that up. It's probably, well, anyway, it doesn't matter because the effect is, see here, I know one of these lines is wrong because I didn't get a triangle. Or because I got a triangle. But it's going to be somewhere in sandy loam. So by increasing sand, you decrease clay and silt. By increasing clay, you decrease silt and sand. So that's important to know. So if we wanted to go loam, what do we know we have to increase? Silt, right? We have to get this line has to go up. And because it's totally not involved. And so this is why I say that silt is typically your limiter. It's really going to tell you what your capabilities are. Now, this doesn't mean you can't grow anything you want. I'm not trying to say it is. And the higher you get your organic matter, the less this matters. Because, it's a huge buffer, both moisture and cation exchange and all that stuff. Humus is king. So no matter, I can increase sand and clay very easily. I can buy it. I can literally buy it. In particular, sand. If I want to increase silt, I have to get like a shovel and go down to a river and deface Mother Earth. So that's why it's really hard. So really, from where I'm at, and let's just show you. So we'll go from silt. So let's say we want to get silt up to 40%. Or actually, to make it easy, let's just increase this by 20%. So it's at 17. So we're going to go to 37. Okay, that makes sense. This is at 17. This is at 37. I'm increasing this by 20%. So now my total is 120. So I got too much. I got to get down to 100. So I'm going to take 10% off of clay and 10% off of sand, right? So here's sand. So let's take 10% off of that. That's going to be, it's going to go from 45, I guess 44 was, to like 34. So it's going to be like here. Yeah, that's about right. And then my clay is going to go down 10%. So here I'm at like, what is that, 37? I'm going to go down to 27. Okay, so now you see. Now I'm like super close. For me, I'm in like clay loam. So like if I were to in fact increase this a little more, like if I had 45%, or from here I could actually, what else could you do? You could increase sand a bit. Excuse me. Let's go yellow. You could increase sand a bit, right? So that's by what? That's by 5%, right? So that'll reduce silt by like 2.5, and then it'll decrease clay by some amount. We'll just say it's here, and all of a sudden now I'm like hitting into loam. So you can see like you're really limited in silt because you can never make it bigger. So what does that mean? That means like, where is my soil going to get better? Like what is within the range that I can change it? And that's like really easy to understand now. It means that this is as high as I'll ever get, which means all of my options are going to be in here. I can't do anything better than here. And that's because my silt is my limiter. I can never increase my percentage of silt. I can only decrease it as a percentage of the whole because I can't add silt. So you're like, well, that's... so what in here do I want? Is really what you're asking for. So I'm in clay loam. I'm probably... Clay loam, sandy clay? I'm probably as good as I can get. Is what that means. Given the fact that silt is so hard, right? So if you think like what is ideal, right? I think ideal loam, well, you know loam. Like, loam's going to have, like, probably 35% silt or more. Like, you're talking at this point, to make that soil wonderful would be tons and tons and tons and tons of difficult to source material. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure these amendments. And we're going to put them into buckets, shake them up. And it's not that much. Let me show you. Minus the nitrogen, this is everything. It's not much. It's not much material. And you only have to do it, you're going to have to do this big one once. Then after that, it's like small adjustment amounts. So it's really this first year that's like kind of hardcore, and then it gets easier. So we're going to change this, right? So we're going to mix all these into a couple of buckets, and then we're going to spread them on our nice even beds. This is why we got the bed smooth, so that as we spread the material on the top, we're not pulling all of that amendment into one area because we have a dip that we're trying to cover. So we do that first. Then all we have to do is stir it in the top couple inches. Okay. Yeah, and then we're good. You can do the same thing for these. The order is we're going to do these first. Right, we're going to do those first. Then we're going to do nitrogen. We're going to do these first, technically. Then we're going to do nitrogen. And then maybe at the same time we'll do peat. I'm going to put in like a couple things peat. But if you wanted to add sand or clay, you could do it at that time too. You could maybe even do it in here, depending on how much you're adding. But for these, you want to go real slow, because any small, like you saw if you change by 5%, that's only 5% in one direction, and minus 5% in the other two. So you're moving the whole thing quite dramatically. So it's good to go slow and work with what you have, right? And again, the soil texture is really important, because that's going to kind of show you like your cap, right? Your cap of like how far up this towards loam you can get. It actually doesn't mean much in terms of what you can grow. What it really means is like how you have to manage it, right? So sandier soils, nutrients wash out faster. Clay soils, water sticks forever, and it's hard for roots to bend through it and to get through it. So we're gonna that's really what you're looking for to balance, is like if it's too sandy, I need to change how I'm adding nitrogen. Maybe instead of adding it every 60 days, I'm gonna add it every 30 and do half, right? Knowing that I can manage this with the same amount, I just need to do smaller, more frequent additions, right? If you're way over here. And in clay, the real trick here is we're going to amend it. We're going to break it up so that roots don't have to grow through brick. We're just, right? That's the only goal. You want roots to be able to get easy access to oxygen, right? And to water. If there's air and they can get water, and they're not like running into a brick wall, which is really kind of what clay is. So that's our goal. Keep this busted up. And this is why some people erroneously say that silt is organic matter. It's not true. But because they have a lot of the same effect on clay, the solution to almost every garden problem is increase your organic matter until you're at like 7%. That's like the top where you need to worry about it. That's when you start having an organic surplus. Okay, I hope that made sense. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to, go mix this outside in a couple of Home Depot buckets, and and spread it. I'll show you how we spread it, and then we're going to tilt it in, and then we're going to bust out the seeds. So, we're here. I'm going to leave this template in the show notes below. I'm going to add it from year to year, so depending on when you see this video, there may be more tabs here. We'll see. Yeah, it's cool. You can watch this stuff change over years. So, like you can see how much you're adding, and it's going to go up. Your fertility is going to go up. So it's really cool to see this to really balance a soil. So anyway, thanks for looking at this with me. I know this is like not your kind of standard outdoory program, but this is really here, bringing your soil into balance is like I think one of the more important things, and it's really critical to this program too, because we're not doing 2,000 acres of one crop, right? We're doing small, intensive garden beds, and we can actually change things. It's really not that much, with the exception of stupid silt. And if anyone knows a source to buy silt, or like a source to get silt, let me know, because I'm in the market for about 5 cubic yards over time. But if I could add silt, I would do that in a heartbeat without having to destroy a river. Anyway, the point is, this here is really understanding your growing capabilities. Is this chart and being able to manipulate this and watch it year over year. All right. Well, it is still too cold to really do anything outside, so hopefully, this weekend it'll warm up a little bit, and we'll go ahead and do this. But I think, next video, be prepared. We're going in.